Okay, so it's recording now. So hello everyone. We'll be starting this webinar. Welcome all for this webinar, and we're very happy to be presenting today, all four of us. Our webinar is entitled "Working as a Muslim in Non-Muslim Majority Workplaces." This is a webinar that is supposed to be interactive. You have the chat if you wish to comment or add or ask any question uh, to uh, to any of the speakers. I'm Mouad El Ouazzani, and I'll be the moderator. I'll be soon introducing the other speakers, inshallah. So our webinar is about it is actually a training. We'll be training you to and giving you some techniques in how to work as a Muslim in non-Muslim majority workplaces. So many of you might think, why should we care? First of all, in France, there were many case studies that highlighted the challenges that Muslim employees face when requesting prayer spaces at work or other accommodations. What you need to know is that in this global workplace today, not everyone will be fortunate enough uh, to not everyone will be fortunate enough to be working in a workplace where that is inclusive, that where everyone can practice its religion freely. No, instead, some environments will be we can say it won't be safe for the specific for specific religions. And here our focus is on Islam, and in this global workplace. We'll show some case studies, some particular national case studies that are of interest to you, that we assume are of interest to you. So it is important to note that diversity and inclusion are very, very important in today's global workplace, and it is the key to create respectful workplaces. Um, so the religious accommodation benefits both employees and employers. The employees will benefit from having employees that are willing to do the work, and employers, on the other hand, will and employees, sorry, will feel respected for their religion, and their work won't be impeded by any discrimination or something of the sort. So there is a form that's going to be shared, and we'd like to hear your feedback and to know more about uh, how did you live through those experiences, if it happened, of discrimination in the workplace. So first, from today, you can expect first of all our speaker Bashir, that's going to be talking about the challenges faced by Muslims in non-Muslim workplaces. I myself will be going to talk about workplace rights and accommodations, and then we will have one of our speakers talk about the positive strategies for integration, which includes a relevant hands-on activity, and you will have some success stories and case studies that are going to be shared to show that, to not give much of a bleak picture of what it is really like to be working in those kind of environments. And we'll conclude and we'll open the floor for your questions in a Q&A session. So without further ado, I invite Bashir to the stage, who's going to tell us more about those challenges that people face, and also the ways to cope with those will be introduced by other speakers. So without further ado, Bashir, you have the floor.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Muad, for this nice introduction. Can you move on to the next slide? The next one. Okay, so I will talk about the major challenges Muslims face in the workplace, what we can do to face them, and also why it matters to us. So the first challenge we have is finding time for prayer. As we know, Muslims pray 5 times a day. Sometimes the timing of these prayers doesn't match the usual work schedule. So sometimes the workday doesn't have enough breaks, and the prayer times might fall right in the middle of busy work hours. So, what can we do to face this challenge? It helps to talk openly to your boss or HR, human resources, about needing a few extra minutes during the day. Some companies even offer quiet rooms or flexible break times to support prayer. And why does it matter? Taking time to pray can reduce stress and help you feel connected to your faith. When the workplace supports these needs, everyone benefits from a happier and more relaxed environment. The second challenge we have is dietary restrictions. So many Muslims follow halal food rules, which means avoiding pork, alcohol, and certain foods that aren't prepared in a halal way. Office lunches, meetings with pre prepared food, or even the snacks in the break room might not always fit these rules. So, what can we do as Muslims working in non Muslim environments? It can be really helpful to let your team know about your dietary needs ahead of time. If there's a team lunch or event, you might suggest a restaurant that offers halal options. Keeping some of your own halal snacks is also another good idea. And why does it matter? When food needs are met, it shows respect for everyone's lifestyle. This small change can help build a more understanding and inclusive team. Now, for our third challenge, we have the dress code. Some workplaces have strict dress codes that may not consider the clothing choices of Muslim employees. This is a big problem because many Muslim women wear hijab, which is the scarf that's put on the hair, and some men and women prefer modest clothing. Sometimes the usual dress code might not allow for this. What can we do? A good step is also is as mentioned previously is to talk to HR, human resources, or your manager about why your clothing is important to you. Explain that your dress is a part of your identity and see if the company can be a bit flexible with its rules. Why does this matter? Allowing employees to dress in a way that reflects their beliefs makes everyone feel respected and valued, which is a core identity of the workplace. It also helps build a more diverse and open minded environment. Now, moving on to the next challenge. Muad, can you please move on to the next slide? Thank you. It's fasting, especially during Ramadan. So Ramadan is a special month for Muslims, and fasting from dawn to sunset is a key part of it. Now, the problem is that we can feel tired or less energetic, especially during long work hours or important meetings. It can be hard to keep up with a normal work schedule when you're not eating or drinking during the day. What can we do? It's a good idea to talk to your supervisor before Ramadan starts. You might ask for a slightly different schedule, like starting earlier or taking shorter lunch breaks. Some workplaces can even offer the option to work from home a few days during this time. Now, why does this matter? When your work understands your needs during Ramadan, it helps you stay focused and reduces stress. Small adjustments can make a big difference in your well being and work performance. Moving on to our fifth challenge, we have religious holidays like Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, which are very important for Muslims, but they might not be recognized as official holidays at work. Now, the problem is that without official days off, you might have to use your vacation time to celebrate these special days, which can feel unfair. What can we do? Try to plan ahead by letting your boss know about these holidays in advance. Some companies are open to offering floating holidays so that employees can celebrate important cultural or religious days without losing vacation time. Why does this matter? Recognizing different religious holidays makes the workplace feel more inclusive. It shows that the company values the diverse traditions of all of its employees. Now, for our last uh, challenge, we have stereotypes and discrimination. Unfortunately, many Muslims face this problem, and there can be misunderstandings or even negative assumptions about Islam. This is a problem as it might lead to unfair treatment or even exclusion from certain work events or projects. What can we do? As Muslims, education is key. Sharing accurate information about our culture and beliefs can help clear up misconceptions. Joining or forming support groups at work can also be a great way to discuss these issues openly and find solutions together. Now, why does this matter? Addressing stereotypes and discrimination not only helps individuals feel safer, but also makes the whole workplace stronger. A team that understands and respects each other's differences is more creative and productive. I'm done with my part. Thank you for listening, and the floor is yours, Moad.
Thank you, Bashir, for for this. Now I'll be talking to you about workplace rights and accommodations. So you need to know that in the workplace there are legal protections that are provisioned for um, religious accommodations, and in the Moroccan legal framework, uh, I mean, it is no surprise since Morocco is a Muslim country, but also for non-Muslims, in the sense that the constitution guarantees freedom of religion and uh, and prohibits discrimination based on on religion. So it applies to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So employers in Morocco are expected to respect religious practices, such as prayers and dress codes. The reason why I mentioned Morocco nonetheless is because we as I said, Morocco is no stranger to global workplaces. This is something we noticed, and there were even incidents that happened in the past with regards to foreign employers that are sometimes unaware of of the actual religious context in Morocco and like disrespecting their employees' religious practices. Okay, so in that regard, it is important to mention that, as I said, it is beneficial for employers and employees alike. So when it comes to European countries, and the reason why we'll be talking about European countries is because it is where Moroccans commonly migrate. Of course, Moroccans migrate to other countries, but it is important to note that it is in Europe where the issue of religion is most contentious. In the US, for example, I wouldn't say that this webinar would be irrelevant. It is still relevant, but but when it comes to the point where you will have to seek legal protection. This is very unlikely to happen in the US. So this is why we choose to speak about France and Spain. France is very well known for being a place where those conflicts might emerge. It has to do with secularism and the whole idea of laicity, which limits religious expression in public spaces. It could be we all know the example of the scarf, the hijab, and all of the polemics the controversies, sorry, that were around the subject. And although we've seen this happen a lot in France, uh, they're still held accountable by the law, employers, and some people have actually sought justice and got reparations for whatever discrimination they faced, because at the end of the day, employers must balance secularism with anti-discrimination laws. In Spain, it is much way more flexible. Employers are required to provide reasonable accommodation for religious practices and flexible schedules for prayer, which is not something that all countries provide for. So reasonable accommodations that could be asked for would be, for example, one, to request a prayer space. It can be done without asking. For example, just if you find an empty space, you could just go in and during your break, of course, or something of the sort. But it could have consequences in apprehensive environment or environments where people are actually unaware of this religious prerogative. So, and also an advice that could be given is that you should be aware of what your specific creed allows for and what it does not. It is more of personal matter. We cannot actually inform your decision in that matter. Only we can give you, we can tell you to look up, for example, what specific religious jurisprudence you observe. Okay. You can also arrange flexible timings during the month of Ramadan, especially for those working night shifts. Uh, you can take time off for religious holidays if you have floating uh, the vacation days, and yeah. But you need to plan ahead and be professional and flexible in your request. And I can stress enough how it depends on the environment. Sometimes we're the ones that are apprehensive, and the environment is way more flexible than we think. So I'll be letting the floor to our next speaker in a minute. Apologies for the technical difficulty we're having. So, apologies again. I'll leave my colleague Islam tell us more about useful practical workarounds. Islam,
Thank you, Mouad, for the
no problem.
insightful talk. um, here in my part, I'm going to talk about some useful practical workarounds. Basically, some tips that we can use when facing awkward situations. The first one is handshakes. Can you please move to the next slide? Thank you. So a lot of Muslims have been in that awkward situation where, someone from the opposite gender in front of them wants to shake hands or hug or, things like backslapping. And if, as a Muslim, that is not something you feel comfortable with, you may find yourself petrified and shaking like a deer in headlights. You don't know how you're supposed to address that situation. But the good news is there are a lot of ways and approaches you can take to make the situation less awkward. First thing I would suggest is if you're comfortable with your team and you don't mind having that conversation with them, just be open about it. Like, guys, it would be easier for me if I didn't shake hands with of the opposite gender. Is that okay? Explain that this is part of your religion, and just be polite and respectful about it. Now, of course, in the workplace, you don't have to deal with your teammates only, but oftentimes you will be dealing with the people who don't really know you. So, I'm sorry. So as I was saying, sometimes you will have to deal with people who don't really know you, and what you need to do in this situation is you can choose to do something like the hand clutch on the chest, and you just be like, "Thank you, I'm sorry, I can't shake hands. I'm a Muslim," and this, in most cases, the people will just, be understanding and respect that, and with globalization and digitalization, it's often very, very common to think that people will do certain things according to their beliefs, and most people are generally not judging of that. So don't worry about that. Please, next part. Now, for drinking culture, as we know, alcohol is a big no-no for Muslims. It's not just forbidden to drink it, but also sitting at the same table where alcohol is being drunk. And unfortunately, so much of the workplace world revolves around drinking and having networking events in bars after work or meeting with clients at nightclubs sometimes. This is something you may experience if you decide to work somewhere like in Europe or in the US, for example. Now, for a Muslim, it might be hard to deal with that when also trying to progress and network and feel included. Fortunately, it is possible to get around these kinds of issues if you just take the bull by the horns. What I mean by that is, well, it means that you get proactive when other people are organizing events, for example. When people are thinking what night out they want to go on, instead, why don't you be proactive and take that responsibility? You can take them to a restaurant, that doesn't have a bar or like that has a very small bar, or you can invite them somewhere where there is no drink or food at all, like a VR arcade or a mini golf or cinema, etc. This will not just enable you to stick to your beliefs while also interacting with your coworkers, but you'll also be appreciated for just taking charge of things and being proactive in the team. Because, to be honest, everyone loves to have things taken off their plate. But again, what if that doesn't work? What I would personally suggest is to go to work events and attend when they're just starting out with food. But then when you notice that it's starting to get boozy, or if they start taking turns for the nightclubs, that's where you should walk away. And just know that this is perfectly fine. People will, as I said earlier, just appreciate you showing up. And if they know you, if you've had that conversation with them previously, they will just know that your beliefs, your morals, etc., do not allow you to continue with them, and they will be understanding. Now, we move to being different in an environment. We all know that looking different is always difficult, but again, thanks to globalization and digitalization, people have become more conscious and aware of differences, especially cultural differences. So in most cases, people will be comfortable with you. Maybe having for men having a beard, or for women, as my team had said, having wearing a hijab. As it's not as uncommon these days. There are a lot of Muslims around the world. However, we know that, especially for women, there tends to be some anxiety around this topic. As women wearing hijab definitely stand out in an environment where there are lots of non-Muslim women who dress in the completely opposite way. So that makes them stand out. The good news is modest fashion is actually a thing that has taken off very spectacularly. And there are lots of options now, as we can see in the next slide. Just a quick search will show you loads of dresses that someone can wear that are stylish and corporate-y. And at the same time, as you can see, these types of clothes also tick the box of your Islamic morals and duties, and you have a lot of choice, so you can adapt that according to you. And another thing that I really would like to emphasize on is, no matter how your female coworkers dress like, to uh, gain. I don't know how to explain it, but some people just use different methods to climb up the scale, and the good news is you don't really have to do that. If you're just competent, if you're professional, if you're good enough as an employee, you can be sure that the way you dress or what you wear will not matter, as long as you have a good added value to the company. Your coworkers, your managers, and your boss will definitely appreciate you and will respect your culture as well. So thank you so much for listening. I will leave the floor to my teammates.
Thank you, Islam. We'll now be moving to Shad's part of the presentation. Shad, you have the floor.
Of course. Can you guys hear me? Thank you so
Yes,
much,
we
Islam,
do.
for sharing such great insights. I'm going to move on to talking about strategies for Muslim employees to navigate challenges. For starters, let's talk about what Muslim employees can actually do when facing challenges in the workplace. So, first things first, you need to know your rights. In a lot of countries, there are laws to protect religious practices at work, whether it's prayer breaks, dress codes, or fasting. Being informed helps you advocate for yourself in a professional way. Second, communication is key. A lot of misunderstandings happen simply because people don't know. If you need accommodations like a quiet space to pray or flexibility during Ramadan, so having a conversation with your manager or HR is truly going to help a lot. So most workplaces are open to adjustments, but they won't know unless you bring it up. So make sure to bring it up with your manager or HR. Another thing is building a support system. If there are other Muslim employees, try to connect with them. And even if you're the only one finding allies, whether it's a colleague who respects your needs or a manager who's open-minded, can make a huge difference. And lastly, confidence is everything. You don't need to hide your faith or feel like you have to constantly explain yourself. It's your religion. You don't need to explain yourself. And if you're professional and doing your job well, that's what should matter. Can you please move to slide 17? The role of non-Muslim colleagues in promoting inclusivity. Okay, so now inclusivity isn't just on Muslim employees, it's a team effort. So if you're a non Muslim colleague, here's how you can help create a more welcoming work environment. So, first, just be open to learning. You don't need to know everything about Islam, but if a coworker mentions Ramadan or prayer breaks, a simple, oh, tell me more about that shows a lot of respect and curiosity. Second, try to be mindful of workplace culture. For example, if you're planning a team lunch, checking if there's a halal option or alternative is small, but it's a very thoughtful gesture. If someone isn't drinking in an office event, don't make a big deal out of it. Just know that it's a personal choice. Third, try to speak up. If you see a colleague facing discrimination or even just a little subtle exclusion, try to say something because sometimes the support of an ally can make a massive difference. And at the end of the day, it's about respect. Nobody's asking for special treatment, just an environment where everyone feels comfortable being themselves. And honestly, when a workplace gets inclusivity right, everyone benefits out of it. Thank you so much. Let's move on to our next colleague.
All right, I'll move right into slide 16, which is the previous one. Yes, this one. All right, I'll get right into it. So, there are many strategies for Muslim employees to navigate challenges within the workplace. First of all, Muslim employees should familiarize themselves with their company's policies on religious accommodations and proactively discuss their needs, such as designated prayer spaces, flexible break times for prayers and fasting, and leave for religious holidays. They should, instead of assuming that HR will automatically be aware of these needs, employees can in fact schedule formal meetings to outline their requests professionally and provide context about why certain accommodations are important for them. Additionally, Muslim employees can also ensure their religious rights are respected in the workplace through understanding and leveraging legal protections. In many countries, laws prohibit religious discrimination and require employees to provide reasonable accommodations for religious practices as long as they do not cause undue hardship to the company. And as you may know, if an employee denies a reasonable religious request without valid justification, employees can actually seek guidance from legal resources, workplace or external organizations specializing in workplace rights, such as the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or EEOC in the US, for example. Would you, okay. So there are many ways for, wait, it's not the slide, it's the next one, sorry. There are many ways Muslim colleagues there are many ways Muslim colleagues can play a role in fostering inclusivity and creating a welcoming environment for their Muslim coworkers because, as you may know, they also play a really important role in that. It's not just the Muslims' role or the employers. And it is definitely by understanding, respecting, and supporting their religious practices. Respecting prayer times, for example, and fasting schedules is essential as Muslims pray 5 times a day and within specific time windows, and a little scheduling flexibility can greatly assist them in completing this practice. Acknowledging that stepping away briefly for prayer is not an absence, but rather a part of their routine, and that is proof of understanding and empathy. As for Ramadan, being mindful of the challenges of fasting, such as lower energy levels in the afternoon and the need to break fast at sunset, it all demonstrates consideration. There also, it goes without saying that avoiding lunch meetings or food-centric events without taking fasting coworkers into account, as well as being conscious when eating or drinking around them, definitely shows respect, even though most Muslims do not expect others to refrain, actually. He encourages encouraging flexible break times so that Muslim employees can break their fast comfortably can also help with that inclusivity we're discussing. And last but not least, avoiding stereotypes and fostering open discussions about Islam can definitely help dispel misconceptions. Rather than making assumptions, respectfully asking questions about Islamic practices encourages meaningful dialogue. Recognizing that Islam is diverse and that refraining from associating Islam with extremism helps combat harmful biases. Respecting dress choices, whether a Muslim colleague wears hijab, traditional clothing, or Western attire without judgment, ensures a more accepting workplace. And being an ally in conversations by stepping in when an insensitive remark is made about Islam further strengthens that inclusive culture. And one thing I would like to add is in the slide before. No, it's the one right after. Yeah. What I wanted to say is that building relationships with supportive colleagues and allies can also help create this inclusive work environment for Muslim employees, as allies can be co-workers, managers, or diversity and inclusion advocates who are willing to support religious accommodations, speak up against discrimination, and foster awareness of religious diversity. Engaging with employee resource groups or ERGs focused on faith, diversity, or multiculturalism can provide a platform for Muslim employees to voice concerns, share experiences, and collaborate on workplace initiatives that promote inclusivity. If no such group exists, employees can still consider proposing one to HR, actually. And lastly, forming informal networks with like-minded colleagues can offer emotional support and solidarity in navigating workplace challenges. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Malek, and thank you to all of our speakers. This is the end of our workshop, and we open the floor for questions if anyone has. And thank you for listening to us.